Yad A. Michaela Shirley and Shia Twapahana Shlido Twitchini Bashichin, Ashin Deshache, my Edeshkishni Deshanella. Hello, my name is Michaela Shirley. I am an advisory board member on the Indigenous Digital Archive project.
I just wanted to mention a little bit about the origin of the Indigenous Digital Archive program. It originated actually in some planning that Della Warrior, as the new director of MIAC, was doing in 2014, trying to have planning sessions involving tribal constituents to understand how MIAC might work better and have more closer relationships to tribal constituents. One of the things that came out of those planning sessions was that people were very much interested in having more availability of archives related to their tribes available online, and to have more education in archives available. So that's part of what led to building the Indigenous Digital Archive program. We submitted for an IMLS National Leadership Grant, and when that came on board and started the major part of our funding, we began the project. So this is the Indigenous Digital Archive webpage on MIAC's main site. I thought I would just start here and just make sure that the information is available. If you scroll down, it says click here for a copy of the application and more information. And that takes you over to our project blog, where you can find information about the Fellows Program, including a copy of the application is available there. The Fellows Program is a pilot project. We're seeking applicants for 3 seats for three fellows from the members of tribal groups of New Mexico plus Hopi. We plan to have a kickoff workshop at MIAC in March. We'll provide the hotel costs and mileage for travel, and what that's designed to do is to provide us a session to really start working together. We'll have members of the advisory panel there to really help you get set up in working with the Indigenous Digital Archive, feel comfortable working with it, and to help refine your research plan to address your research topic. We will have another in-person meeting for midpoint in the fellowship for midpoint presentations, again meeting with the advisory panel, doing some preliminary presentations, and then we'll have a concluding meeting again at MIAC with travel costs provided. We're really looking forward to the aspect of being able to work together in those ways. We think the face-to-face work is really important to help support your work in the project, in addition to the time that you'll be working on your own or collaboratively in the online interface. The actual online archive you can get to by going to indigenousdigitalarchive.org. We are actually still building out parts of it. So there's some things you'll see that'll be changed. For example, up here, in not too long of a time, this will say indigenousdigitalarchive.org rather than redirecting to a different URL. So indigenousdigitalarchive.org is the web address that you want to keep track of. Don't worry about this one that comes up. There's going to be some things that look different as you log in the finished site. You're going to get kind of a dashboard situation where you can see things like recent activity in the site. It'll highlight documents people have commented on recently and other discussions that are going on to help really build the social nature of working with the archives. Let's look a little bit at different types of some of the different types of documents that are available. We can look at some of the school reports. My internet connection is a little bit slow right now. What you saw there was the ability to browse by name of school, and then this is documents that the computer has indexed as having these terms in it. So we're actually going to swap the order of the results of this page, because right now it gives you first the pages, and then you have to scroll all the way down to get to the documents. And it might make sense, particularly when it's a whole document about Zuni, to start out with the document itself. So we can go and look at this document just to see the kinds of things that are in here. Okay, and here, we have OCR running on this. So the OCR tries to interpret what it sees on the page. Even sometimes it tries with some of the handwriting. Let's see. And this one, why don't we go ahead and open it in an alternate viewer? These three different buttons here let you interact with the document in a little bit different ways. You may develop a personal preference as you work with the IDA about what kind of viewers you want to look at each time. So here, this is the superintendent of responsible for Zuni in 1926 is giving a report. So in here, they're listing property, values of property belonging to Indians, it says, as part of their annual report. Let's see, which is this? Oh, I think this is population, entire population? Yeah, minors, adults. And it looks like they have columns for people to do things based on blood quantum kind of thing. Oh, and a little bit on the school. Number of children in the jurisdiction, those that were not able to come to school for listed reasons that the bureaucrats had picked, number of eligible children in school, and where the children of Zuni are at. So for example, here in 1926, they're saying 4 children at Zuni are at Riverside at the Sherman Indian School, 12 are at the Santa Fe Indian Industrial School, 4 at Haskell, and 40 at Albuquerque Indian School. So you get some pretty detailed demographics sometimes. Again, it's not personally identifying, but you can see patterns that are happening in, not patterns, but you see specifics that are happening in communities at different times. Let's see, and here's for the Zuni school. Let's see, number of Indian children within 2 miles, the number of whites enrolled, number of Indians enrolled. Let's see, and they're saying, oh wow, if Indian children are not received in any public schools, why are they excluded? And it says buildings are too small to accommodate any more than white enrollment. I hadn't heard about that yet. So, some of these documents, they're kind of, dry bureaucratic documents, but there ends up being quite a lot in them. And I'm going to exit the Mirador viewer. Let's see. Yeah, this will take us back here. And we can look a little bit more at, I'm just going to pick some school reports that I've looked at before, so I can look at, so I can show you a type of document that I know is in there. So in the Santa Fe Indian Industrial School reports, and again, we just have the documents that are from the let's see. Let's try this. I don't know why it's saying 0 images. They might be updating something in the software, and it might be giving a little buggy there. But we only have documents related to the time that the schools were completely part of the early government Indian boarding school system. We don't have any of the self-determination documents, just the early stuff here. But we can look over in the Santa Fe school reports. This is typical, these annual reports for the superintendent. And they'll actually include lists of names of students in the school that year. So this is showing some highlighting of terms of the computer file, and we'll be able to toggle it on and off. But it's giving you the people's names, what tribe they're associated with. And so these are from 1920 students at the Santa Fe Indian Industrial School. We don't have the individual student files. We focused on scanning things that were available on microfilm. Plus, our advisory board felt that at least initially, putting student files online is something that would be too private, and we didn't want to do that. But if you got really interested in looking up particular students, you could write to the National Archives at Denver with the student name, and they could give you a copy of the student file if it exists. So there's a lot of potential for kind of deep biographical information in there. Those files can contain all sorts of things, including letters from family members to the superintendent, for example. So there's quite a bit of research potential there. These names are highlighted. The computer processing that we do, we scan the documents, or we scan the microfilm copies. It's run through OCR, optical character recognition, where the computer tries to figure out what the text says. And then there's another bit of computer processing that picks out things like names and geographical places. It's very good at picking out dates also. And we fed it a list of tribes. So it looks for those things in the documents too. So when those things are available, it brings up these notes here. Probably this screen will be a little bit reorganized. But here's the notes that it's found. So if you see something on there that the computer hadn't picked up, you can also add the note about the person. For example, I know on one of these pages is Feliciana Tapia, my husband's grandmother who went to the school. So you can add that name there, and then it prompts you for some information. Oh, I didn't select her name on there because it's not actually on there. Select a region on the page, and I don't want to add a note that's not correct now, so I'm going to discard the changes right now. But you can add that person's name or add these tags and put in a little more biographical information about them. For example, oftentimes the government might get something wrong about their name or even their tribal affiliation, and you can add in that corrective information or add additional information about them. We're also going to be having tools for adding photos and additional documents too, if you want to build out more about a particular person or event even on the site. So that's some of what's available with the reports. Other types of documents, we're starting to build out a description of the series. That'll be available to give you a little bit more information. But there is also just kind of a plain old list of the documents that are available. And you can see that over from our blog post. Click here for a full list of documents available. And it takes you to a Google spreadsheet that you can, if you comment on it, we receive the comment and can respond to it. But this shows you the records that we have available in this first round of the Indigenous Digital Archive. This here is kind of experimental letters received by the Superintendent of Indian Trade, because it's not so much focused on New Mexico, but it was just kind of interesting to, since it was only one reel, to see what was going on in that kind of area of Indian administration by the government at that time. We have the records of the New Mexico Superintendency of Indian Affairs. And if you click on the link there, what it takes you to is a copy of the finding aid for those records. So it tells you a little bit more. This is from the National Archives description of the records that they're providing, which is where all these come from. So related to the boarding schools particularly, you get the annual reports of the superintendents. At that time, the superintendents also have administrative powers over tribes in the area too. So they do a little bit of reporting. Again, it's generalizations about conditions going on. So you'll see things about them talking about encroachments onto tribal lands by area non-tribal farmers, and that kind of thing. Just various things that fell under their domain. So those are the annual reports. There's also another set of documents specifically focused on the schools that are the reports of outside inspectors who would come through and visit the Indian schools and do inspections. So it's kind of interesting because it's an independent viewpoint from that of the superintendent reporting on things. There's actually quite a bit of records from the Santa Fe Indian Industrial School. Again, this is based on what's available from the National Archives, having microfilmed it. We scanned off a microfilm because it was easy to get a lot of records to start out, which is what you kind of need to be able to follow the stories of people and events. So this is a list of the records. So you get letters sent 1890 to 1913, letters sent to the Commissioner of Indian Affairs by the Superintendent of Santa Fe Indian School 1898 to 1894. Wait, I'm not reading that right, or there's a typo. That date range seems funny, but sometimes there's mistakes in these volumes themselves, and so you have to transcribe that properly. Press copies of letters sent to the Commissioner of Indian Affairs 1900 1913, and then additional letters sent. So this is for Santa Fe Indian School. There's actually quite a lot of records from the period of 1890 to 1917. There's a really dense amount of records, and then we continue to have records from the annual reports and their inspections into the 1930s. So there's a lot there for Santa Fe Indian School particularly. You see here is a list of the reports of those inspections. You can see that, and the schools listed here. You'll see that there's schools that are kind of outside of the Southwest area. That's because as we got these reels, we scanned the reels. You buy a scan of the whole reel, and the way that they had microfilmed the record was simply in alphabetical order. So if you pick up Carlisle School from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which is one that we're interested in, you get California Superintendency and Carson, and Central Superintendency also. Well, quite a few, Cheyenne and Arapahoe. They just all come on the same reel. So there's sort of a little bit of a nationwide flavor to what's available, which can be useful for comparative purposes if you want to see if what was happening at one school seems to have been typical or not. That can be really useful. We picked up records from schools in New Mexico, and then also picked up, there's quite a lot, and also picked up the reels related to Carlisle and also to Standing Rock, since MIAC has an exhibit coming up on Standing Rock. That was germane to get. So that was from the field inspections. You get a list of the superintendent annual narrative and statistical report. So there's the schools and the year it covers, and all that kind of thing. So this is just a way to get an easy overview before that information is built out a little bit more on the site here under the series information. Plus it has the easy links to the finding aids. So if you're interested in knowing more about a little bit more about what's there overall and what's not, that might be a good place to start. Or we can also have more conversations about it too, individually, if you want to contact me. So if you look for, the OCR is also kind of useful too, because for things that we've brought over into the Indigenous Digital Archive, you can actually do quite a bit of searching. So for example, if I might want to see if there's things mentioning Fred Cabote, who was a student at Santa Fe Indian Industrial School and started painting there. We can see, okay, here's mentions of him in these documents. So we can take a look at that. So I'm going to guess that his name is here as part of a list of students. So yeah, there he is, Fred Caboti, Hopi, under the what they call the Moqui Agency. And I lost my toggle button there, but I think this is just purely listening to students. You could also look and see what the previous page is, or down at the beginning of that section is. Okay, so something about the non-resident school here. So you can page through the document starting with your search results, or here looks like he's mentioned in the narrative section. We'll just wait till that comes up a little bit. I think I'm taxing the connection because I'm recording the video while on the site, I think is getting it. So it's talking about Fred Caboti here. Maybe if we come down here. Okay. So they're talking about Fred Caboti, a graduate of this school, who even before he finished high school had a national reputation as an artist in watercolor. And they're giving page numbers, so it looks like they're referring to something else. We can go back to the previous page. And here we see that, okay, what these page numbers are referring to is a publication of the Sherman Institute in 1926, featuring some Santa Fe Indian Industrial School graduates. So, particularly for working with archival documents, where you usually can't just, kind of Google search style and find things, and it does provide quite a bit of power for being able to see, is a particular person in a series. We also soon will have live on there. This stuff will all be ready by the time the fellowships begin. The ability to add comments about topics. So, for example, if you're finding things about, for example, child labor, there's a lot of reports about the physical labor done by students in a year, or sometimes, under the outing programs, or doing construction work on behalf of the school. Hauling coal is another example, so that you can get quite a lot of information there. And you could tag that all as, under the topic of child labor, for example, and then you could be able to gather all of those and find those quickly. So those are some of the searching features. When you look on here, let's see what it looks like if we browse by topics today. Some of this is just from the computer generation of the OCR, where it's not getting very good results it's guessing, and it's not guessing very well of what the text is actually saying. So that is something that we'll actually be cleaning up. We have this topic manager tool here that lets us look at tags that computers generated and see if they need editing or consolidating with other things. So this tool lets us look and see, well, what was the actual thing that the computer is looking at? What was the document? I'm going to have to look a little bit more about how that works when there's more than one result. But it is pretty effective at letting you see where that came from, and so that you know how to correct it, for example. So these, the list of topics that you see right now under topics, that's going to get cleaner looking as we go on. It'll be more useful. Now, right now, what you see in the Indigenous Digital Archive is actually just a portion of what's available. What you see right now is only the things that have been brought over into the public interface. We obtained from the National Archives and also from some microfilm held by the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center just about 270,000 pages of records. And where those are is, let's see. here we go. They're all loaded into the system. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. They're all loaded over into the system, and what there are is they're bulked in by these reels, and they're waiting to be brought over into the other side. And this is something that's actually fairly simple to do. And let me look. Let's look. I know Standing Rock is still going to have stuff in it. So here's some of the school records from Springfield School and Standing Rock. And this is what you're going to see here is representation of the entire reel that we got from the National Archives. So it shows these quick little previews. The beginning of every reel is always a copy of the finding aid. So we know we can go down to here, and then we get the first actual record. And they microfilmed the folders, which is kind of handy, because it gives you a nice visual separation between the different reports. So here's the original annual report from 1910 for Springfield, South Dakota. And then we can look down and see, here's the next folder, which says it's a narrative report from 1911. So this is 1910, so that looks like it's the last page of the document. So to bring it over into the Indigenous Digital Archive, let me check that name. And that was, we're at Springfield School 1910. So to bring it over, we just select those. We say make item. And Springfield School, and I'm going to check what's our pattern for naming. Springfield School annual reports. Okay, we tell it to save. And then it's in this other interface where we could actually take a look at it and check our work. But I think we've got that pretty well. So we'll say publish to Omeka. And now that's another thing that's available in the Indigenous Digital Archive. It takes a little while for the computer processing to run through, just in terms of like a day, and then it'll be fully indexed and available here. So this is something too, if you feel like you're not seeing the documents that you want to work with, they can be previewed here. Or and also this can be something that you do as part of preparing your site to work with, if that's relevant to your research. So that's what we call the sorting room. That's a thing that that will be open to people who are interested in how to use it. And we'll sort of communicate about how we're naming files, just so that we have consistency there. But we're working through that pretty quickly. The topic manager, that's going to be a password protected thing, since it's kind of easy to make really broad changes here. But then the Indigenous Digital Archive itself, of course, is open to everyone. If you create a login, then you can comment on documents, you can tag documents, and you can create collections of your own, collections of documents you're interested in, and upload things that you want to. This isn't showing here. There used to be kind of samples of people commenting, but that's not in the site at the moment, but that functionality will be there. And let's see. So that's sort of a walkthrough of the types of documents. Again, if you want to look at the types of reels, that's over here. There's also a wish list for the next round. We talked with the National Archives, and they're very interested in the project. And we talked to them about how we had found matching funding to get the copies of microfilm for them, and they said, "Oh, you know what? We don't want you to have to pay for those anymore. Send us a wish list of what else you want put in there." And so we did. it's actually wish listed as it's only $200,000 if we had to pay for it. But if there's things that are particularly of interest too, we can ask them and see if they'll prioritize that for what they would scan and share with us. Things that we're asking for include like the remaining boarding school records, the remaining annual narrative and statistical reports from other schools, and the inspections of the schools also. So those are some of the things there. Let's see. So it's a little bit of the site. There's the types of documents. Oh, the research topics. So again, if you have a topic that comes from your own family history, community history, research interests, that's great. There's also suggested research topics that can help build the information in the Indigenous Digital Archive, such as researching a little bit more about some of the jurisdictions. For example, this San Juan jurisdiction has different boundaries at different times. So some of the research projects could be looking at a particular area and seeing what the jurisdictions were over time related to the records that are in here, and maybe producing a map that helps people find which records would be related to their area. Doing more on the histories of the schools, that's also a potential research topic that would help amplify the information about the records that are in there. There's all kinds of research questions that can come from, researching about the schools themselves. So those were all things that we were thinking about with the advisory panel, and you're most welcome to suggest other topics as well. We are accepting applications by email. Again, if you go over here to the fellows, if you go to the blog at indigenousdigitalarchive.org, you get the call for applications, click for the applications form, and then you'll need to please copy and paste this document into a word processing document, something you can edit the text, or another Google document if you prefer, and then fill it out and then email it to us by the end of November 11th, 2017, by 11:59 p.m. Email it to info@nativedocs.org. We will need the copy of your answers to the application, and then also a copy of just a one-page CV or resume also. Please put your name as the start of the file name for both your answers to the question and for your CV resume. Have those two different files start out with the same information, your name in the same format, so that we can group them together easily as we're reviewing applications. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for considering applying to the Indigenous Digital Archive Fellows Program. We really look forward to receiving your application. Thank you.